Michael, and good morning, everybody, and of course, good morning to my esteemed panel. There's no doubt the pandemic has unleashed a broad spectrum of changes across our industry for the operators, for the owners, and of course, ultimately for our guests. These changes have been both operational, they've been financial, and I think in particular what's been the most stark impact, and this is something that Michael touched on, I think perfectly, is bottom line profitability. Now for some, that's added a huge amount of more challenges. For others, there's been opportunities that have arisen, and we've seen areas where costs can potentially be cut. And the real question I think now is, are those costs going to stay? Is there a new normal for profitability? And indeed, should there be a new normal for profitability? I'm delighted to be joined by Gabriel, by Hamid, by Hassan, and by Marcus to discuss this and to debate whether we see these changes as permanent, whether we see them as flexible, and where we really need to move for the next 5 years to really take the industry to a new level and a new level of profitability. So thank you all for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hassan, perhaps I can start with yourself. You come at the industry from both owner and operator perspective. What are you seeing as the main driver for the decline in profitability that we've seen over the last couple of years?
Well, as a matter of fact, I think everybody speaks about COVID, and COVID definitely was the most, I would say, unprecedented crisis. This has not spared the MENA region and obviously KSA or the Kingdom. What we have seen recently is a slight recovery. And the recovery, if we talk about 2020 and then the 2021, I think we had the complete lockdown, and then the ease of the lockdown has encouraged the domestic market to travel. So we've seen a movement in the domestic travel, and I think that the previous panel mentioned that this was a neglected element, but it has been so strong in the last 1 year. Then the ease of the travel ban, okay, it came up from, I would say, regional to coming inside like an inbound and an outbound, also showed a certain recovery, okay, in the business coming up. So these are the two trends basically helped to say the returning to the new normal for us. We've seen in the KSA, I think the beginning of the year from January till July, even until August, I think slight recovery mainly in the main market in Riyadh. We've seen a stronger return in Jeddah. Unfortunately, the limitation of the number of pilgrims going to Mecca and Medina has slowed down completely and made the business almost nil to us. The reopening now recently has helped a lot. I think the acceleration of the vaccination programs is really helping progressively. In a few days' time, we'll celebrate the National Day of Saudi Arabia, actually on Thursday, the 23rd. We'll announce the opening of the real season coming up and too many activities. So this is for us, call it the new normal coming back. And from a new normal coming back, there are too many activities, and we have a high expectation for a good recovery from an occupancy point of view, from visitors and others. The activities goes around the sports, the entertainment, and cultural events. It is really timed up with a very, I would say, selected calendars between October till, and it go throughout 2022 to March, hopefully. So this is what we have. It's very well scheduled. So we have a high expectation from this one, and of course the real season goes to Jeddah. We will be hosting by end of this year the Formula One and too many other activities. So this dynamic is helping us to go to call it the new normal for us.
Thank you. And Hamid, you're operating a number of the Millennium hotels across Dubai and the region. How are you seeing the bottom line profitability being impacted? And do you think we're past the worst, or is there more to come?
No, I think, yeah, we are facing two fears today with the healthcare and business care. And our profitability hit, like everybody here, I think, in this room. But things are open. We start to mitigate our costs and find some new opportunity to bring business. We discover that the local community can contribute to our profitability, and also we have some niche from the feeder markets like CIS and our main feeder markets, KC. When they open, we can find also a possibility to mitigate and bring more profitability. Staycation brings us the experience of family. So today we are offering more opportunity and more experience to the families, and we are ready for what will happen tomorrow.
And if we look at it from the owner's perspective, obviously key in my mind, I know Gabriel, key in your mind as well, do you feel we're getting enough support from the operators in terms of profitability, protection? Have you experienced changes within HMAs, flexibility in brand standards, flexibilities in fees, centralized services?
Thanks for the question. Personally, I think there's been a little bit of a polarization between the pragmatic discussions that some operators have and the protectionism of others. In terms of crisis, even if you're on an airplane, the first thing that, in terms of crisis, you put your mask on yourself and then next year. And I think and some partners have adopted that approach more so in maybe in other regions outside of the UAE, where they do anything that they can to protect their bottom line. And I think here in the region has been a pragmatic discussions. I think at the same time, some operators have also centralized their operations here locally. So they've taken the time to invest in the region, while other operators have taken the decision to, no, let's not have our headquarters here anymore, let's move outside. Sometimes that makes it, and downsize their local staff, and sometimes that makes it hard to get decisions done and have that pragmatic discussion. So it has been a polarization. I think as Michael Hotstad mentioned, centralization has always been a hot topic. It will continue to do so, and I think that's where the biggest discussions with the operators right now we're having.
Yeah, I think centralization, as you said, is a key focus for a lot of the big operators at the moment. It's certainly something that the owners are also pushing and is seen as maybe a way forward to change the operating models going forward and protection of that margin. Marcus, I know you've been looking at this within your own hotels as well as to how more centralization, and particularly from a IT perspective, can be helped with this.
Well, I think what we have seen and what has been definitely one of our key strengths is to make sure that the IT evolution is really taken care of. And we, in our organization, being fortunate that we have a Chinese partner who is really very much engaged and very much on the upfront in terms of IT solutions, we are definitely benefiting from it. And we see that when we discuss with owners and future investors, how much importance they play to this, because it is definitely the future. And we have been talking for this for many, many years, but I think now it's really let's walk the talk and do it. And that's why the pandemic, in particular for our company, has been an accelerator in this view in order to make really sure that we are now moving on. So I'm a strong believer, and we see, Huazhu, our partner, 7,000 hotels, they are all on one platform. It's only one platform, nothing else, and they're extremely successful. So we are trying to integrate now the same process also in our organization to make sure that we are combining the over 175 million loyal customers which they have. So it is really something which will help us and every investor also to show that it's worth being part of this organization. So absolutely something which is key.
And we had His Excellency on the stage earlier talking about things that were happening at the Tourism Authority level and the great job that they have done to continue to promote the destination. Is there more that can be done as we start to change the operating model? Is the star rating going to be the same going forward? Should it be the same going forward? Do we think there can be potentially changes there that really reflect what's changing in how we are going into the industry post-COVID? I don't know who would like to address that first. Perhaps it's a tough and a broad question. Gabriel?
I think if, at least from an owner's perspective, well, I guess all stakeholders, we have really two brand standards to adhere to. One is that of the operator and that of Dubai. And you know, there's always a continuous discussion and through organizations like DTCM, where you know they ask very open questions on what they can do. And in the pandemic, that has been very, very, very clear. There's always, as the business model of Dubai evolves, as new segments comes in, I think everyone needs to adapt. I think the brand standards of the operators in Dubai was also written in a way where it's in a different economy, a different aspect. We now have new customers, and we all need to adapt. I think that the discussions are there. There's always a hot topic with, obviously, the operators to have a discussion on brand standards. But a pragmatic approach is definitely required.
Yeah. And from an operating perspective, Hamid, are you seeing that guests are wanting different things to maybe what they wanted in the past, and what was important to them in a 4- or a 5-star hotel is maybe different today than it was 3 years ago?
I think so, because today, after the lockdown from 4 months till 5 months, people, they discover something else. They discover their families, and they discover their houses. So the trend changed today, and they are looking for something else. And we noticed that in our hotels, and the trend also for the guests, we call it, we are working from home, and why not working from hotels today? So we have a big leftover in our hotels. We have rooms, and we need to sell them, but the demand is not there. We have a small demand, but we have inventory. So the idea also to bring this experience, what we learned from the pandemic, to bring it to our hotels and to offer some packages where people, they can book a room, and they can get a second room as office, playground for the kids, room dining for the family, and why not a gym for the whole family. So we need help here, because we have some tax for the second room. We need the authorities to help us to find a solution and to increase our ADR and to get what we want. Second, in our industry, the core of our business was social gathering, and today we are talking about social distancing. So we have a lot of empty spaces in our hotels, especially in the dining rooms, ballrooms, kitchens. So we need also help of authorities, owners, to find solutions to have cloud kitchens, cloud for the facility management, like housekeeping, maintenance, we can just cross the demand of manpower between hotels, because we are only manager, and as you know, the staff belong to owners. So if we can just change them and to have this task force and the facility to move from hotel to others.
And Hassan, from your side, because as you're both owning and operating, you have a different suite of whether it's a management agreement or it's your own hotel that you're operating. Are you seeing a difference in how you're achieving bottom line profitability? So where you've got the more flexibility, are you going that little step further in changing more agilely than maybe you would otherwise?
Absolutely, because I think what our advantage is, we have a group of hotels, and we are multi-brands, and we have our own brands, and we are scattered around the kingdom. So what happened is, when the business is, let's say, there is a high demand in Riyadh, we brought our team from Mecca, from somewhere else, to back up. We did an opening late last year in Jubail, and we used our internal resources to really do the pre-opening and then the opening and the launching of the product without the need of saying a new hire. So I think the agility of moving around the people, this was proved to be one, cost-effective, plus encouragement. During this process, we discovered new talents. People are willing to do other jobs than what they've been doing throughout this period of time. We use the empty time also to train them online and even on the job also. So to your point is, yeah, we have more flexibility than a very rigid structure. And the rigid structure, unfortunately, we had to go and deal with them in a way for the same hotel structure, why we can reach a break-even point earlier than others. And actually, it was no longer a big break-even point. It was mitigating losses at that time, because I don't think any hotel made a profit, on a real NOP basis last year. Nevertheless, the effort from everybody was how you mitigate your losses. So mitigating the losses was the flexibility, the agility, moving people around. On the same time, cutting costs. We've been privileged last year by, I think, in the kingdom, but the government did subvention to certain, I would say, labor costs and reduce energy costs. So this also has helped a little bit, but it helped. We can see the difference in 21. It's no longer available, so it hit harder in 2021. But we hope that by the end of the year, I think we can come to a break-even point with this one. But the agility is moving people around, and this gave a lesson to go to our managed hotel to show them well, there are ways of cutting costs, there are ways of being more flexible, and I think contingency plan everybody went through and succeeded in a way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that certainly if you're looking at it from an owner and operator perspective over the last couple of years, there's been minimal returns. Even, if you're the operator itself, it's minimal fees. So there's a lot to catch up on. There's a lot of debt that will still need to be repaid for a number of projects. Are you finding, and probably Marcus to yourself first, are you having different conversations with investors now about what they're looking for from a brand? Are they looking at a different brand to try and recoup? Are they looking for more flexibility? What are they coming to you with now?
Well, we see different approaches, of course, but I think what we have seen now during the pandemic and hopefully at the end of the pandemic, that a lot of investors are looking definitely for viable partners. So partners which are not only financially viable, but also have innovation ideas and are looking forward to make sure that it's a win-win situation, not a win-lose, as it has often been the case. So, of course, having this kind, like talking for my own company, we definitely are such a partner because we have the stability of our company. The other thing is, of course, that the investors are looking for different guarantees. They are looking also to see what is the future business model of a corporation. A lot of things in the contract needs to be rediscussed, talking about force majeure and so on. So these are a lot of things which need to become a completely different value now those days. And on the end of the day, if it is now an institutional investor, it's a pension fund, or if it's an insurance company or bank, everybody has the same kind of focus. And as long as partners are open and willing, to have a success together, then we can achieve that. I'm absolutely sure. But it has changed. Demands are different, and maybe in Europe, for us, we have a lot of our companies and hotels are leased. So we're sitting basically on both sides of the table. On one side we have managed and franchise, we have leased. So we really need to negotiate and to find the best way in order to please both sides. And it is not easy, but the pandemic has helped us to find new solutions, review the fee structure. The fee structure in the past has been a nightmare for many owners. You don't really know what you have to pay. So we're trying to streamline it to make sure that it's very clear, transparent, and fair.
I'm glad I heard you say it's helped us. I think there are positives that have come out of the pandemic. I think there are more things that have been able to be expedited maybe than would have been if we'd have carried on as business as usual. We talked earlier about some potential opportunities, and Michael was talking about where there could be opportunities in saving costs for the operators. But from an owner's side, Gabriel, where have you seen opportunities for yourself? You've continued to invest, I know, as an organization, but where do you still think there's more opportunities post-pandemic?
Yeah, I think focusing also on the cost is almost the easy part, but in today the trends are shifting so quickly. Before, the hot stats and everyone talked about it, but the segmentation was so different from what it is now. And I think tomorrow or next year, this segmentation will shift again. So within our own hotels, the segmentation, depending on the geography, changes from, we get everything from $100 to $500 per occupied room in additional revenues. And if we can identify those trends and reinvest our funds into new facilities that attract those, the CIS market gets back, UK came, and then obviously that the market shut down, but they will come back. The Chinese market came before, now they shut down, but I think it was a different customer will arrive in Dubai, and we have to be prepared for that, because otherwise they will go somewhere else, both in terms of competitive hotels, but also to other destinations. And that's why we continue to invest into the new water park technology and new facilities within our hotels to attract those customers, because we think that is it a set formula? No, but monitoring those and speaking to the industry, speaking to DTCM to understand where they're focusing their efforts, that's where we're going to invest, and we continue to do so.
And I think the common message that we're hearing on the previous panels and also from yesterday is, continued collaboration, continued communication is absolutely key to all of this. If we were to roll forward 3, 4, 5 years' time and COVID becomes a memory, hopefully a distant memory, how do you think a hotel is going to be operated differently, whether it's in terms of segmentation, whether it's in terms of the product that's being offered? Do you think there are permanent changes, or do you think we'll eventually and slowly get back to how it was? Marcus, if I can start with yourself.
Well, I think it depends in which segment you are working. If I look at the economy sector and mid-scale, I think a lot of things will be completely automated. IT and platforms will play an important roles, and therefore also, the cost of operations will go dramatically down. If we go up to upscale and luxury, we still need, this kind of service level. So I don't think that there will be a big change. However, what I think will change, and that's what we hear, is also that the demands and the requirements from what I call the digital natives, they are expecting something different in the future in terms of what kind of hotels we're going to provide. So that's why lifestyle hotels, like we have Jazz in the City or House of Beats, these are things which are maybe more in the focus in the next couple of years to attract also this clientele. And we just launched Steigenberger Porsche Design Hotel, a cooperation with Porsche, which is definitely something which goes in a direction where nobody really would have thought a couple of months ago that this kind of work and this kind of hotel would work. And I think it changes, it goes in this direction. But economy and mid-scale, and we know that from our partner in China, is completely digitalized from A to Z. A 300-bed hotel has maybe 15 employees, that's it. So it's really everything down to profit margins. And if you see the profit margins over there between 55 and 60%, so that's a different ball game. But the higher you go up, the more service you need, and the more important it is really that you are differentiating yourself on that high level. I mean, you see it here in Dubai, the variety is tremendous, and it's great to have this experience. So I think it depends on the segments where you are in.
Hassan, how do you see the future?
Yeah, I would like to add a little bit about it. I think our customer habits is changing, as Marcus mentioned, but I think also we need to see the aging, so we need to continue catering for the millennials coming up. Lifestyle brands are really important nowadays. However, the segmentation will be changing, as a segment. So we see a lot of business coupled with vacations. So people are changing because this is the only time that they'll be able to travel and traveling. So they go on vacation, then they do the business on the side. The demand on the rooms will be changing. Today, there is a demand of more flexibility in the room size and more space to work around it. Exactly. Okay, and so you don't need the customized bedroom, which we've all seen for many, many years. You go inside and you have your 2 beds, your desk, etc. I think the clients today would like to have his own space. Doesn't mind not having all this, just the bed and some area to work on. The desk is not important anymore. You can work anywhere, on the couch, on the bed, anyone, because everybody is on his mobile more than anything else. So I think we need to keep tracking the guest habits, improve our product to become really an attractive product for it. We've heard yesterday, basically on the panel, that the hotels' lobbies become more like a living room and more animated areas, etc. So we need to keep tracking all this. We need to keep following it and make sure that we implement it. And those outdated products need to be reconverted. So this is the time. If you're gonna stay really in the race, everybody needs to look to his own product and keep it up with the upcoming demand.
I agree with Hassan and Marcus, because I think we'll rethink how hotel design in terms of zoning, and I agree with today we have those standards for 4-star, 3-star, 5 stars, 35 square meter, 45 square meter, etc. But today we will have more space in the rooms, because the habit change, and people they used to small spaces where they can dine, work, sleep, party, watching TVs, etc. So we will rethink the space, and definitely the technology will be there, because today we, with social distancing, contactless, so everything will be contactless. So those two will definitely will be there in the next future.
And clearly, all of this will either come with a cost or it will help to improve costs. But one of the key drivers of that is always going to be the staff, the colleagues in the hotel. Obviously, in the Middle East, as Michael pointed out quite rightly, it's less of a flexible cost here in the Middle East than it is across Europe. And we've all had to struggle, and there's been some very difficult decisions that have been made for a number of the staff that have been here. How do we make the flexible working model work better going forward here in the Middle East and across Africa as well? Do you think there's more that can be done to either share staff to deal with the peaks and the troughs that we see coming in between weekdays and weekends, where we get huge increases in occupancy in the weekend?
I think we can be flexible because we have the two segment, business, leisure, and we know business during the 5 days, during the weekdays, and leisure can during the weekend. And a lot of the operators that have hotels driven by business or driven by leisure, so we can be flexible. And this is what I said. We need to have this flexibility in manpower, how to can send them from a hotel to other, even during the week. So with this, we can save. Instead of hotels, they are hiring casuals, and they are having more cost. And the other hotels, they have people, they are paying them, and they are not working. So productivity is very important to mitigate the costs, because the margin or the top line is very competitive today. So we have only how to mitigate the cost. And also, we faced a big problem during the pandemic. Here in the region, we have the end of the service gratuity. So we I think all the hotels have it in their balance sheet. We have a provision of gratuity and end of service, but no one have it in cash. During all our career, we carry on the provision, but we don't have cash. And during this pandemic, we face in some hotels, we need to send back our colleagues, or just to tell them, please sit somewhere and I can give you money. And we have also colleagues, they ask for it, but we find we don't have cash. So that's also something can help us to be more flexible.
Yeah.
Please.
I know the clock is
Ticking
ticking.
down quickly.
But I think each economy is different. But Dubai just obviously introduced a temporary work visa. We'll see how that is being implemented. If that really works, then we can start really see these synergies coming in. And I actually think it's quite exciting because it will drastically reduce our break-even point. And the rest will be, if that happens, then centralization. There are third-party managers coming into the region. All of these things will help us to drive costs, but it's this fundamental shifts in the business model that this new visa actually does that will be incredible for the industry.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from me from everything that you've said, and I think from most of the panels that we've had, is COVID has really expedited some good ideas for change. They're not all implemented yet, but I think there is a real momentum behind making a change in an industry that possibly hasn't always changed as quickly as what it could in the past. So whilst it's been difficult, challenging, and I think will continue to be for another few years yet, I hope we all agree there are some signs of life and some green shoots coming at the end. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you
Pleasure
very
to
much.
have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.